guys, welcome back to Character Red Woodshop. If you're new here, my name's John and I represent the Character Red brand. If you're not new here, I appreciate you checking out another video. In this video, what we're going to do is I recently purchased a Massca M1 pocket hole system, and I decided to come up with a design for a workstation for it, places necessary to put all of our hardware and everything that we need to use this pocket hole jig. The best part about it is we are going to do this all by using the actual Massca M1 Pro pocket hole system to make its own workstation. So stick around and let's get to it, guys. First thing when starting this project, I knew that I wanted to incorporate it into my workbench and my French cleat system, so I had to make sure that the dimensions fit that. So with that being said, I made this 26 inches wide and then I cut it down to length. After getting this project cut down to length and down to 26 inches to where it would fit on my workbench, I decided to start mapping out where I wanted it to sit. I did this by using my Kapro Tools Legit Square. Then I started cutting what would be the base for the actual Massca M1 Pro pocket hole jig. So I just kind of eyeballed this because I knew I was going to cut it down on the bandsaw later on. So when you're working with the Massca M1 Pro pocket hole system, you got to take into consideration that you got to set everything up and make sure that your stop block is ready for everything, and then you can get to actually drilling your pocket holes. So now that the first round of pocket holes are done, we can transition into the next step on setting up this and actually sanding down some of the pieces. Trust me though, guys, there are plenty more pocket holes to come. So now that I've got the base set up, I wanted to make sure that I mark everything and make sure that I've kind of got a good reference point on where this base is going to be. That way I can start setting up the back and setting up everything for the drawers, because I want this to be an all-encompassing pocket hole system and workstation to where I can use it for everything. And I also wanted to make it a little less square and give it a little bit more dimension, so I decided to put some 45-degree angles and then make some handles on it. After cutting the 45s, then I'm going to move into actually getting this down to its final length for the base, and then we're going to start cutting the back and actually setting up the drawers. So now that I'm getting the pocket holes cut for this back piece, the important thing is I wanted to make sure that it was 90 degrees. So I put these corner clamps in to help me position it while I put in the pocket hole screws, and that enabled me to keep it at a 90-degree angle and make sure that everything's square.
If this portion of the build is not square, it's going to throw off the remaining pieces of the drawers and everything else. So now we're setting up the side walls, and these are going to be the walls for the actual drawers themselves before we put the tops on and set everything up and make the drawers. So I actually got really lucky with all the dimensions in this build because the plywood that I had was pretty much cut to exact length, and I only had to make very few cuts in order to get the tops. Next step, we're going to go over to the bandsaw and actually cut the base for the M1 system down. And now I'm over at the drill press and I am cutting the screw portions for the top on both different sides, and then we're going to put the tops on, and I'm going to outfit this with some special walnut dowels. Unfortunately, I was unable to use pocket holes for the entirety of the build. The top is reinforced by StarBond, and then I hit it with some regular screws before I put the walnut dowels in. If you go to StarBond.com and use the code CR10, you will get 10% off your order. I also have that in the description below. Okay guys, now that we got our dowels cut out, we're going to make sure we put them in with our mallet. Man, I really need to make an actual mallet instead of this cheap Harbor Freight one. And then we're going to cut these down with a Japanese pull saw. That way everything's nice and flush. Alright guys, so I do want to mention that today's build is brought to you by Massca. So I pitched them the idea that I wanted to make a workstation for the M1 pocket hole system after I recently purchased it, and they were all about it. They're a family owned company, and I'm sure they would appreciate your support. I've got them down in the description below to where you can find all their Massca products. In this step of the build, it's all about cutting out everything that we need for our drawers. So just to let you guys know, I did have a mess up. I am not a professional at making these drawers by any means. So I actually messed this one up. I ended up trying to do it with pocket holes, and then I messed it up after I hit it with some StarBond and actually broke down all the drawers. So we're going to cut out the drawers again. So I actually used two different ways to assemble these drawers. Remember guys, you're following me on my woodworking journey, and if you haven't noticed by this point in the channel, this is the first time that I've ever made a set of drawers. So I honestly think that I like the second way that I made these drawers the best. The only thing that I would change is that on the back I would incorporate the pocket hole screws on the actual back of the piece instead of kind of towards the inside of the drawer. And that just comes with experience. Next we're going to move into using the walnut. So I wanted to kind of dress this up a bit and make it look really nice, so I wanted to put some walnut drawer fronts. So it was at this point that I realized that I needed to tune my bandsaw and make sure that I was able to get a good cut. So I went over to my trusty track saw and I cut these drawer fronts down to length. So you can use any router bit that you want in order to make these drawer fronts, as long as it's a chamfer. You can go over and go to the drill press and cut out everything that you need in order to put the hardware on for the drawer pulls. Alright guys, now she's almost complete. All I need to do is outfit it with a couple of different hardware options and get the handles in there, and we are ready to roll. So once again, here I am. I'm using StarBond, and the reason for this being is because I couldn't find a way to incorporate pocket holes. StarBond in my shop is used as a tool, and I highly recommend that you guys use it for anything that you can't use regular joinery with. Now that this is complete, we're going to go over to the drill press and cut out the circles for the actual handles, and now we're going to finish it up with the jigsaw, and we're going to round everything over in order to kind of break up those edges.
So I'm getting ready to wrap up this build. I put out a poll on Instagram on whether or not I should finish this or if I should just leave it the way it is because it's shop furniture. So what I'm thinking about doing is just going ahead, finishing it. I'm gonna try it out, see how it looks, because I mean, even though it's shop furniture, I still want it to really look nice. I'm gonna go with the furniture finish, and I think I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of the furniture wax after I'm done with it. So I mean, the worst thing that happens is I end up sanding this thing off. So the best thing that can happen is it ends up looking amazing, and you guys love it. I love it, which that's really the most important thing, is that I love it, and that Massca loves it, and it looks great, and it's very functional, which it already is functional. So I'm gonna take a quick drink, and then we're going to get into actually finishing this bad girl.
So like I said before in the previous clip, I'm finishing this with Walrus Oil Furniture Finish. They have a ton of different options that you can use, and I have them down in the description below. Alright guys, well that about wraps it up for this build. If you could and you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If I've captured enough of your interest and you want to see future projects, give me a big subscription and tap that bell below. I hope you found this functional, and as always, we will catch you on the next video. Thank you for being a part of the Character Red team.